friends, welcome back. It is August 8th, 2018, 11:33 a.m. Seems like forever since we've talked. Just been crazy work schedule, a lot of traveling. It's just unfortunate. I wish I could just be getting these videos out on a daily basis, especially with what's going on all over the world right now. So what we're going to do here is we're going to focus on, obviously, Hurricane Hector, which is just now making its way underneath the big island of Hawaii. It is expected to be about 150 miles south of the big island. Certainly the bands of this hurricane, which is still pushing Category 2 winds, 125 mile per hour gusts easily. These bands will reach the big island. It will cause big surf. As far as the population goes, because of the volcano, I don't see many people being on this part of the island. So we can hope for the best that at least these bands and the rough surf and things that come with hurricanes getting close to coastal areas will be minimal. There may be some cleanup that has to be done, but I don't see Hector really causing much damage to the big island. Which was also part of the reason why I waited on reporting on this. A lot of people are putting out videos saying this thing's going to smash right into the big island and, you know, all this, you know, big talk and stuff. But that's not really going to be the case because, as you can see here, this is current time right now. Hector is well underneath the big island. But again, those bands that extend out, they extend out very far, sometimes hundreds of miles. Those bands will absolutely affect the big island. But again, most people that were on this part of the coast have moved their way to the back end of the island due to Kilauea volcano, which is still erupting on a daily basis. So, as we move forward, there is something interesting about Hector that we're going to talk about in the near future. Hector seems to want to make its way all the way across the Pacific Ocean and then enter into typhoon territory. Now, I can continue with these dates with the automatic IC, the icon model. If you switch to the GFS, which it's not letting me do for some reason, you can go all the way to the 15th, and you see Hector full-blown, actually stronger in this area. So Hector might be one of those rare storms that starts off as a Pacific hurricane, rare in itself that it makes it to Hawaii, let alone close to the big island, and then goes all the way across the Pacific Ocean into the area where they are called typhoons. So we are going to have a hurricane from the Pacific into typhoon territory, then who knows what happens after that. This may actually affect areas in this part of the ocean. This could end up in Tokyo, where there is currently a typhoon. If we check the 8th right now, you could see that this typhoon is currently making landfall on Tokyo as we speak. This is a pretty big story too. Pretty much for another video. There's a lot of people covering this. Just a lot of action in the Pacific Ocean. Okay, so with that said, Hector, again, 150 miles to about 200 miles south of the Big Island. Not really going to be a huge effect. It is newsworthy, of course, because between the volcano and the hurricane and the rarity of those situations, it is a big story. But what I want to talk about are a few other things as well. Just before we do that, here is a quick article updated actually a couple minutes ago, talking about Hector and what to expect. So there are tropical storm warnings still in effect for the Big Island as Hurricane Hector moves westward as a strong Category 3 storm. I believe it's down to a 2 now. It could be bordering on that 2 and 3 level as far as wind strength or sustained winds. Again, the tropical storm warnings are there. You could see in this model here, it is passing clearly south of the island. So any more videos you see about Hector hitting the Big Island, of course, watch them if you want to, but that is not going to be the case. This will not be a direct hit. This will not be a landfall, especially with Hector. But there will be surf advisories, as you can see here. Issued east-facing shores for Maui, 6 to 10 foot surf. That's pretty significant. That's a big jump up from what they're used to. There could be gusts up to 73, even up to 80 miles an hour, which is also very significant. Again, what we have to be semi-relieved about is that there's not a lot of people in that area right now. I know there's still people in Volcano in the Big Island, but they're inland far enough to where I don't think this storm is going to be anything they have to worry about as far as like a super emergency, if that makes sense. So Tropical Tidbits will show us here that it passes south of the island, but then check this out. It does not die down. In fact, it bounces back and forth between different pressures. It gets stronger, it gets weaker. But one thing that it doesn't do is it does not dissipate. And you can see just as it leaves the frame here, we're at 965 pressure. And 965 pressure is less than what it is right now, being at that borderline of Category 2 and 3. So this storm actually gets stronger, Hector, as it moves closer to the west side of the Pacific Ocean, which is just very rare. It's a very rare situation that you have a hurricane move into typhoon territory. So once we get to that bridge, we will cross it. We will talk about that more. As far as the Pacific goes right now, we have Tropical Storm Christy and we have Hurricane John. Hurricane John just went from a Category 2 with 100-mile-an-hour sustained winds to a Category 1. Now, this was expected because most of these storms that form in this area that move up north towards the Baja region, they usually die out. If they don't die out right around this area, they kind of do like this little hook deal here and they dissipate here. So Christy is actually kind of far out, but you'll see in Tropical Tidbits that John, which also is the reason that Storm Irma is no longer in existence because of that Fujiwara effect we talked about. Now, I took a snapshot yesterday before Irma, if that's the way you pronounce it, was actually considered a non-storm. This was yesterday at 5 p.m. You could see these were two separate storms. Now, the names might be confusing to some people. They name these storms based on which one becomes a tropical storm first. That's why you're not seeing in order like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You're seeing Christy over here, John here, and Elena maybe. Is it Elena? I could have looked that up. My fault. Either way, this storm does not exist anymore. So we have Hector, which is H. Then we have I, so Irma was the next storm that became a tropical storm. And then John was the next one that became a tropical storm. And then Christy was the last. So that is why you have these out of order, because they go by what becomes tropical storm first. Now, John is a little bit of a different story. John looks like it wants to get pretty strong and then die out. But I'm glad I took this snapshot because we did talk about that Fujiwara effect where two hurricanes get close enough together, they begin to spin around each other. Usually the bigger of the two survive. So that's where we're at now with that situation. Also, for those of you that don't know about it, we have a tropical storm, which was a subtropical storm yesterday around 5 p.m., which is now a tropical storm. This is Debby. So we have reached letter D in the Atlantic hurricane season. August 8th, we're a little behind last year. If you guys remember, I believe Hurricane Harvey was around August 12th is when we began really focusing on that, which is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 4 days from now. So we can still expect the Atlantic Ocean to blow up at any moment, because if you guys remember, after Hurricane Harvey, we had 10 consecutive hurricanes named, broken records left and right. We had Irma, Maria, Jose, we had Nate that shot right through the gap and up right through the dead center of the country. A lot of different things going on. So for those of you that are convinced that it's going to be a weak Atlantic hurricane season, I would not put all my chips on that table quite yet. So I just wanted to show you Tropical Storm Debby because of the high pressure in the Atlantic Ocean that is constantly spinning in a clockwise direction. Even though our storms spin counterclockwise, Debby is expected to just be pulled out in this direction, and then unfortunately for our friends in the UK and Ireland, Debby is going to be heading in that direction, and we will get into that as well. Now, to show you, I want to show you how John ate up Irma or Elena, and then will in turn, according to these charts, eat up Christy as well. and this is how it goes down. It's pretty interesting. This is the Fujiwara effect. It was a little more pronounced. It was a little more exaggerated when we first started talking about it, but we all know things change in weather. Nonetheless, it was a Fujiwara. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back up to August 5th, where we could still see Hector in the screen here. So this is Hurricane Hector. This was 4 days ago. Sorry about that delay. 4 days ago is where Hector was lying, right here. So as we move into the 6th, we see Hector leave the screen. We see Elena or Eilina right there. Then we have John, and then we have Christy. So you'll see that John is the bigger of the two storms. So John takes Eilina, and they become one. Now John is a pretty significant storm. John right now is a Category 2 storm. Was a Category 2 storm at 100-mile-an-hour winds. The newest update, which happened about 5 or 10 minutes ago, brought it down to Category 1, 85-mile-an-hour sustained winds. I don't know. There is one drop in pressure, again, once it starts passing the Baja region, so there is a chance it may jump back up to a Category 2. But as we move forward, you can see as it enters the cooler waters, just as you get to the border of Mexico and California here, the water cools down a lot, and these hurricanes need 80-degree temperature water to sustain, unless there's just rare circumstances. And there you have John also devouring Christy. So John is an eater. John is a hurricane eater. John basically took out two storms that were named. So we did go through 4 letters within a short period of time, but this is just a perfect example of how these storms interact with each other when they're this close. And the Pacific Ocean has just been on fire lately, and it's still not done yet, because I'll show you, this thing takes us all the way to August 18th. There's another 3 storms that this graph is projecting to produce. So once again, let's just check this out. We're back on August 6th now, 2 days ago. You can see John here, Eilina, Elena, and then we got Christy, and then Hector just exited screen. We move forward. There's our Fujiwara effect, where John takes over that storm. And now this is the 8th. This is current time right now. This would be the 9th. This is tomorrow. Here is August 10th. And that's when you begin to see John making its effect on Christy. So basically, we are going to go from 4 named storms to 2 named storms, more than likely down to 1, with Hector being the sole survivor, making its way across the Pacific Ocean on a mission to do who knows what. So we're going to keep an eye on Hector for sure. We've been talking about that name for a while, but as you can see, once John is done taking over that and kind of dissipates, we enter the 12th and the 13th, we see yet another low pressure. So HIJKL, this may be our letter L for the Pacific season come the 14th, and it looks like it will form. It bounces back and forth between 1,000, it drops under 1,000, goes over 1,000, but nonetheless the storm is there, and this is far off enough to where a lot of this data may change, more than likely will change, but you could see it here. There are 2 storms that are trying to form, possibly a third. 1, 2, and 3. This will more than likely be named. These 2, it's hard to tell because we are now pushing 12 days into the future. Anything after 5 days you really don't want to commit to. You want to just follow it, watch it, keep an eye on it, and move forward from there. So there has been a lot going on in the Pacific Ocean. We have a tropical storm in the Atlantic Ocean in a very rare area. Probably will not affect the U.S. If anything, like I said, it will affect the U.K. and Ireland. So one more view. We have the Atlantic Ocean here. You can kind of see how we got the low pressure here. High pressure is what these low pressures wrap around. So the high pressure is basically that force field we always talk about, the Bermuda Atlantic. That's what keeps storms coming down this way. And then once that pressure releases, it's all based on the jet stream where hurricanes want to go when it comes to the Atlantic season. So we're going to back it up all the way as far as we can to the 5th. And you can even see that when we move forward here, you could see that interaction between John and Elena happening on the 6th and the 7th, and then into today as they exit the screen there. And then you could see where Debby is right around this area, and you could see how the high pressure is kind of rolling it towards the UK. And as we move forward, you could see that it definitely pushes it in right into the UK, right into Ireland, and stuff like that. So that is the update as far as the hurricanes go. And if I move forward into the future, into August, into the beginning of late August, what we are beginning to see are these green blobs, and they are coming from the west coast of Africa, and this is what we usually expect around this time of year. Now, if you guys remember, Harvey was August 12th, 13th, 14th, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and then after that, it was a conveyor belt of hurricanes. So we may not be seeing that, but there certainly will be hurricanes in the Atlantic Ocean, and this is the exact time when they start to really pop up. So, and they happen quick too. So one day you could be looking at this chart, and then 8 hours later there's an invest. So don't be surprised if we start seeing invests, especially in the Caribbean where the water is very warm. You can even see by the 12th, 4 days from now, we have a low pressure of 1,008. If that gets any lower, you can tell that that's going to be an invest. Now, just because it doesn't have that circular motion, that doesn't mean it won't become a storm. The fact of the matter that we even see these green colors here show that it is capable of producing a cyclone or aiding in it or helping it evolve. We have another blob that pops up there on the 16th. Again, we are very far into the future, so it's hard to tell if any of these will form. But again, the point being is that once the moisture hits these areas that are basically sustainable for hurricanes, that's where we want to watch out for, because Nate was one of those storms that kind of just was a green blob here, and then within a day it was a perfect circular motion, and then just tore right through between Cuba and Cancun and right up straight through Mississippi and Alabama, and basically made it all the way to the Great Lakes before it was downgraded to a subtropical storm. So your guess is as good as mine as what's going to happen in the Caribbean right now. But I just wanted to get this update out to you guys. I know it's been a few days. Trust me, if I could do this every single day, this is what I want to do. My work schedule has just been through the roof. A lot of work going on. As far as the U.S. goes, there's been some pretty crazy weather going on. Colorado had some tornadoes. We've had some pretty crazy lightning situations. Almost 100,000 lightning strikes across the world, I think it was, yesterday, and then it was about 40 to 50,000 lightning strikes yesterday alone, just up and down in the East Coast. Now, we got hit with some pretty strong storms. I'm actually in northeast Pennsylvania right now, instead of southeast where I live. Again, just bouncing back and forth between work and visiting my parents and stuff like that. So I try to get this stuff out to you guys as much as I possibly can. It's just been very hard with my work schedule. If I could do this all day, I would, trust me. But that is our update for now. I have the rest of the day free, so I'm going to go into detail about some other stuff going on. Once Hector gets a little bit closer to Hawaii, we'll start seeing effects. We could probably get some webcam footage of the surf, which would be pretty cool to see. And that is where we are at right now. So we have Tropical Storm Debby, 45-mile-per-hour winds, 1,003 as far as the pressure goes. Again, this will probably, almost guaranteed, no threat to the U.S. whatsoever. We'll see what happens once it starts moving towards the UK. And then, of course, we have John and Christy still alive in the Pacific Ocean. John looking to be the dominant storm in this area, will probably suck up Christy, and then John is expected to dissipate right around this area, getting pretty close though to that cross line between Southern California, a little too close for comfort. So we'll just see what happens with that storm. Again, weather can break rules. You never know what's going to happen. So with that said, guys, I'm going to let you go. Yeah, so Hector is going to pass underneath the Big Island. The bands will affect the coastlines. I'm expecting minimal damage, high surf obviously, but again, because of the volcano, a lot of people are not really going to be on this part of the island. And then Hector is going to make a long journey all the way into typhoon territory. So thank you guys for listening. I appreciate the patience once again. I will be getting these videos out on a daily basis once again, as soon as I can. It's just, you know, there's only so many hours in a day. You know, you guys are my priority. I wish I could do this nonstop, like some other channels get to do, but it's just, you know, I gotta work full time, and I do this on my free time. So expect some cell phone uploads. I'm getting much better at those as far as the audio goes, and getting them out quick to you guys for quick updates. Please check my Twitter and my Instagram also. I do update there. And that's about it, guys. I appreciate you listening. I hope I was not jumping too far around for you guys. And that's that. So I hope everyone has a great day. You will see another video today, guaranteed. You have my word on that one. And we are at 11:54 a.m. So everyone have a great afternoon, and I will be back. Thank you so much. Take care.